Hey, how you doing? Nice you could stop by. Uh, don't let my girls bother you none. Some people got guard dogs, and me, I got guard chickens. But they've done their inspection part, and they must think that you're okay. They want you to come in and see what we've been up to. So now this stovetop kiln that we have here, we're going to go from this is kind of the middle of the happening, and we're going to go to the end and then come back to the beginning so you can get an overview of what we actually have done with this. Now this kiln, and you see it's a water fired. Now this is stuff that usually goes water that we usually heat the floor with, but we've got this plumbed into the same system, so the same water that would usually go into the floor. Well, here, just take a look at how it's routed through here. So we've got 3/4 inch PEX pipe that's feeding this, and before it goes into the kiln, but we're drawing that off of the main heating system. Now I've got 1-inch supply lines here, and it goes back to we've got the leathers that hold it up to hold it in place there. But we've got valves over just to the left there. You can see the valves there to shut the system off or open it up. And the same system also puts hot water into the sink that goes through a heat exchange unit. And then it also comes down and it heats the floor, or else we've got it so it can go out to the hen house where the girls are. But we've got valves all over, but it was basically just the main, initially it just heated the floor. And it's just got one circulator pump, but this pump's good for, like most of them, the take-home. They're good for up to 140 degrees operating temperature. We don't have nearly that hot. But I wanted you to see how it was plumbed in, because it's an ordinary system. It only runs on, usually operating pressure between 10 and 25 pounds. I don't let it go over 25 pounds of pressure in the system. That fluctuates a little bit depending upon how hot the water is. But the same system that we heat the place with, then when I've got it running right now, the water is running exclusively through the kiln. So the building, for the most of the time this has been running, nighttime temperatures have been 25 below. And instead of running the heat through the floor, which I can run it through both, and sometime I do that, through the kiln and the floor. But if I run all of the heat through the kiln, it's still heating the building. So we've had this running for 3 weeks now. On this load that's in here, there's about 300 board feet that are in it. And we've had it running for about 3 weeks, and it'll take another week to finish it off. There's a boiler that we feed the fire it with. It's just a hot water, like domestic use hot water, 75,000 BTU. And it's made to have a dual where we can draw out of the side of the water heater. I don't like doing that, because if you ever sprung a leak in the system, then you can run the water supply too low, and I don't want to run the chance of that, so I only pull it off the top. But Richmond is a pretty decent brand. But you see right there where you can pull the hot off or the cold off, of course, off of the side. But I don't like running it that way. Here we get to actually where it's plumbed in and feeding through. Now these timbers, these are 4.5 by 12, and they will eventually make a tabletop. But inside we've got just the loops, a 1/2-inch PEX. Now there's 2 loops that we've got in here, and they as you see them go through, we're making 1 loop around, and this box is 16 feet long and 4 feet wide. And we make 1 loop around every 3 inches. So for every 3 inches of the width, we've got one loop of the PEX that goes through. Now each of the lines that come in collectively make about 200 lineal feet of PEX tubing in here. Now, I'm not going to show you how we put it in, because as we went along, we go, okay, there's a better way of doing it. And here, this is the model, scale model of what we're building. This is a heavy timber table. The model here representing a tabletop that's about 3 3/4 to 4 inches thick, and then the timbers for the legs are 6 by 6 or 6 by 7. And here the blanks as they are 4.5 by 12 right now. And you see we got 2 loops that feed into there, two of the 1/2 inch lines. And again, both of them are about 200 lineal feet of PEX tubing. And as we did it, and going, I was continually fighting how the PEX, comes in that, continuous coil, 300 feet in a loop, or in a per package, as it were. And I had to make spacers for it, and so it lays in there, and it was, kind of a bit of a pain. And when I got done, I go, there might be an easier way to actually get the heat in there. But 400 lineal feet seems to be enough. 600 lineal feet in there would be better. You seen all these cracks in here, in the wood? They'll close up as the timber dries down. This the white pine. This all white pine I've got in here. The white pine was air dried for some of it, all of it, at least 1.5 years before I put it in the kiln here. And that's just to finish it off. It was about 35% moisture content when we put it in. But now you see one of these the coil, they'll come like that with 300 lineal feet in a coil. And if I would have instead just left it all coiled up sort of, and then pull it out like it was a giant slinky, and with a board going through the middle of it to fasten it to and keep it all in place, it would have been a whole bunch easier to get it spaced in there evenly. But if it's spread out like a slinky, that's best term I can come up with. But the PEX works great, and the slinky idea would work great. But then with just a board running through the middle to clamp it to hold it in place, and to let's see, the main problem it ran into was the expansion contraction of the PEX as it heats up and cools off. Now I left it so it has room to expand and contract, but I like the slinky idea better as far as actually getting it spread out. Now we tested after 3 weeks. Now this block of wood is that I cut off, and I'm measuring the cut off spot right where I cut it with a chainsaw. But you can see how the numbers are upside down as you see it there. But this was really sappy on this one piece, this drop end. But you can see that the moisture content as I move around in there goes from, like, at the very edge, it's down to around 5%, 4% moisture content right at the edge. And as I move into it where it gets really sappy, up to 20, 25, 20, 26, 27% moisture content. And to make this tabletop, I need to get it so it's down all the way to the heart of the wood, down in that 8, maybe 9% moisture content before I glue it together. So we're gonna speed this up a little bit. I'm gonna put to raise the temperature at the water heater. I've been running about 140 degrees in there, which puts the kiln inside the where the wood is. It's been running about 120 degrees as far as the material temperature as it's been drying down. But I'm going to take the water temperature in the water heater up as high as it'll go. Now that's a natural gas, and it'll go 160 degrees. Now you see it covered up differently here, and that's we cleaned up kind of the collective mess on top of it, and then added a box fan inside of it. I hadn't had a fan going on it until this was 3 weeks in, and then I added this fan. And here you can see, I'll show you. I'm uncovering it here so you can see inside where I made a space. You can see the fan down there, the box fan laying there, and it draws the air so it gets to tumbling inside of it. But collectively, I probably have, if I bought everything new to make this, except for the axle, for the kiln itself, about $1,000 worth of material I got tied up in this if I bought everything new. You can see the box fan in there to get the air to circulate. Now you can only dry it so fast or you'll cause extra cracks, which is, you don't want that. But this is what we started off with. We're going back to the beginning of stuff here, and got a galvanized I-beam for the center, 3,500 pound axle. Here I'm fitting the tongue together for it, and that it's upside down as you see it right there. But that hoop that you see, there we go. Now we're right side up, and you can see the I-beam, and we're gonna set everything together on top of this. So we can move it into the shop, we can load the material onto it with a skid steer or the tractor outside. And this is what we fitted together for the base. I've got solid wood going all the way across, 16-foot long material, 2x6s with one 2x4 in there. But it makes collectively 48 inches wide and 16 feet long. I got a 3/4 inch plywood that's set on top, and you can see the bunks how we arranged them on the bottom. It's got steel 4x4 tubing, and then with 4x4s over the top. And if you can see the chalk lines that got snapped onto the plywood, those chalk lines that were each joint on between the 2x6s out. They don't keep any screws in there. But I'm running GRK screws in it from the one side to the, what's the first one? 2 inches long on the first. And I use a lot of screws and stuff to hold it together. And I hate stuff that breaks. But we're using GRK screws. They do pretty good. And then we're going to flip it over. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. The chamfer bit I use first so that the heads, so I can get the head so that they're smooth, at least recessed a little bit into the plywood there. And my ever-present help in time of need, the overhead hoist. We got on the first layer of plywood, the joint between the two HOPs is right in the center. You can see the bunks a little bit better in this picture. The 4x4 tube with the 4x4 treated on top of it. I want to be able to have this so it's mobile. It takes up a lot of room in the shop if I'm not using it. It's going to go out and can load it and unload it outside. Now the next layer of plywood brought in here so that the joints are offset. Put a full sheet in the middle and 2 4-foots, one on either end. Second layer, the second layer of plywood, we're going to go with longer screws, and now here we are all the way back at the very beginning as I'm pulling out the timbers to run them through the mill, and I'll straighten them up first. I started out with 6x12s, and then cut them down. It was for the table. It was for a customer, long-time customer, and he's seen some of the other. We've done work for him on and off for probably 10 or 15 years. But he wanted a big, heavy timber table. The finished table's got a top. The top is going to be 12 feet long and about 42 inches wide.